We're good. All right, everyone. Welcome this evening to the May 11th meeting of the Franklin Historic Zoning Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time. Our first item on the agenda is citizen comment period. This is open for citizens to be heard on any issue or concern. If you'd like to speak on a specific item on the agenda, please wait until the citizen comment period for that item. For all citizen comments, please fill out a speaker card. They should be on this round table to my right, your left. Come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and try to limit your comments to 2 minutes. Are there any citizens who would like to speak to the commission at this time for any non-agenda item? Okay, I see none. So let's go to item number 1, the minutes from last month. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month, which is the April minutes?
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Brian, thank you. Thank you. All right. Any comments on that? Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor of approving the April 13th, 2026 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that was Brian and Angela. Okay. Staff announcements, please.
The April 20th, and it begins at 4 o'clock here at the Eastern Flank Event Facility. And the deadline to submit an application is this evening by midnight. And we will be having the preservation proclamation. It's going to be at the BOMA meeting tomorrow evening at the county facility on West Main Street. And so the meeting is at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and so we hope all that can be there will be there. The mayor will read the proclamation, declare it Preservation Month, and we'll all get a picture made. So we hope all that can attend can attend. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
I'd make a comment. I think this year's theme for Preservation Week is
All people created equal.
equal. And so if you all haven't seen the Carruthers House that the city did, it's just amazing. And we're closing in on 264 Natchez and the Veterans Legion on 11th. So it's a big year for the theme.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to our other agenda items here. Number 2 is consideration of new construction, signage, and site alterations for the Williamson County EMS at 110 Aldersgate Way. John Gore is the applicant, but we will hear from Miss Emily Huffer on their staff report first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, the property at 110 Aldersgate Way is located within the Franklin Road Historic District. A new civic building, signage, and site alterations are proposed on the site. This application has come before design review and historic zoning several times, and the applicant has incorporated all of the feedback and refined and revised the plan, and therefore staff recommends approval of the application with conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If the applicants want to come forward. Any comments you'd like to make, add to staff's analysis there?
No, sir. We're very happy with, the work that we've done alongside the committee here. I appreciate all the input. I think it's been a team effort. It's turned out really well. We've got a little ways to go for final construction documents, finish up final detailing and all, but I think we've incorporated all the comments and suggestions. I'm very happy.
Go green. There you go. No.
Sorry. There we go. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And will you remind us of your name, please?
Jeff Earwood, Earwood.
Okay. It has to go in the minutes. I knew your name, but. All right. Thank you very much. If you'll have a seat. Okay. Are there any citizens who wish to comment on this application? Okay. I see none. So let's go to the commission for a motion, please. Okay, thank you, Michael.
Second.
Michael and Bob. Okay. All right, motion is for approval with staff conditions. Is there any discussion? Angela?
I do think it looks very good and they've responded to everything that we've discussed in the meetings. And as it sort of came into better focus with details around the windows and the doors and everything, I think it looks good
Okay, thank you.
and it suits that site.
Mr. Laster?
Yes, and I would echo that comment as well and say thank you to the applicant and architects
Yeah.
for working with the board.
Anybody else? Mary, you have something?
Well, just to cheer them on, the county actually would not even have to go through this process, and they've gone through it with seriousness and tediness.
Absolutely.
I can't say that right now.
Tediousness?
Thank you. And so it's appreciated that we have that kind of cooperation between the city and the county.
Agreed. Okay. Motion on the floor is for approval with staff conditions. Let's vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, moving on to item number 3, consideration of ramp installation at 210 3rd Avenue North. Brandon Pretty is the applicant. It looks like he's got compadre here. Let's hear from staff first. If you guys want to come on up to the podium, we'll hear from Emily first.
The property at 210 3rd Avenue North is located within the downtown Franklin National Register Historic District. The proposal includes the installation of a ramp at the front of the building. The proposed location of the ramp does not align with the guidelines recommendation for placing modern features in locations that are not readily visible. However, the position of the ramp appears to be the only feasible option for the site. Additional landscaping should be added between the sidewalk and the side of the ramp to help soften and screen the ramp. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the application with the following conditions. Thanks.
If you want to come up, please, introduce yourself.
Hi, Aaron Rogers, 906 Studio.
Anything you'd like to add, Mr. Rogers?
No, I feel like I appreciate your comments and the process working through this. I feel like we've come full circle and now are back at, I think, the best option for the ramp location, just looking at the site constraints, so.
Okay.
I don't have any
Thank you very
further
much. If you'll
comment.
grab a seat. Any citizens want to comment on this one? Okay, I see none. Let's go to the commission for a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve with staff conditions.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Angela, thank you. Any discussion?
The discussion I would have on it is that I agree with staff. It may not be the ideal placement, but it seems to be the only one in order for them to comply with ADA and historic zoning guidelines.
Anybody else?
I think staff mentioned that it would help everything a lot to have landscaping between the sidewalk and the ramp, and I agree with that. That's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I think this particular instance, being that it's a slope that doesn't have to have rails and things, it'll just feel like front yard and not a ramp,
Yeah.
which is good. I think if this had rails all over it, we might be having a different discussion.
Exactly.
It'd be a little harder to swallow, but anything else, anyone? Okay, motion on the floor is for approval with staff conditions. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, on to item number 4, consideration of window replacement and alterations at 334 Main Street. We have Mr. Michael Lee here. Mr. Lee, if you'll let Emily do her staff report first, then we'll hear from you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The building at 334 Main Street is in the downtown Franklin National Register Historic District and is considered a contributing building. The proposal includes the replacement of 12 of the upper floor windows and the replacement of roofing/flashing materials above the architectural element located above the storefront windows and below the proposed windows that are to be replaced. Staff recommends approval of the application with conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lee, welcome.
Nice to be here. I think your comment the last time was it's needed to happen for a long time, and we're hoping for approval and happy to do it.
Sure. Okay, thank you very much. All right, anyone from the community want to comment on this application? Okay, I see no one. Okay, I will take a motion from one of the commissioners, please.
I'll move to approve with staff comments.
Okay,
Second.
thank you, Mary and Brian. Okay, any comments, discussion?
I
Go ahead.
No, I just want to say this is very exciting. This is going to be a great improvement to that building, and it feels good.
Here, here, and I appreciate the sketch, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the profile.
The only comment I had on the sketch was just to make sure that it really did look like two sashes. The sketch kind of shows a meeting rail that's 1.5 inches for top sash, and below, usually double hungs, that sash overlaps each other, so you just see one. Is that the intent, Mr. Lee, that they'll build kind of two sashes there?
It's the intent to make it look like a one-over-one.
Yeah, real double hungs, and there'll be an offset.
Request, if you want, we can make that middle sash an inch wider.
Well, I think, I don't know that it needs to be an inch wider. I'm thinking just make sure that it looks like one rail, because usually one rail is in the back sash and one's in the front.
I'd be happy to submit to the historic
Yeah.
staff a picture of a finished product.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I feel good. I feel like I know they'll do it right, so I'm not too concerned about it, that I feel like we have to condition it in or amend the motion. But any other discussion?
They just don't need to do it for the sketch.
Yeah, the sketch is a little, I think it probably will have 1.5 inches bottom rail and top rail, and they'll overlap once they get them built, yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? No? Okay. The motion is for approval with staff conditions. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 5, consideration of principal building alterations porch railings at 157 4th Avenue South. That's the Dan German building, and the same crew.
Lee
All right,
Restoration.
let's hear from Elizabeth on this one first, please.
Thank you. The property located at 157 4th Avenue South is located in the downtown Franklin National Register Historic District and is commonly referred to as the Dan German Building or Hospital. The applicant attended the March 2026 DRC meeting, and additional information has been provided for review. The proposal includes a retroactive request for the installation of railings on the front porch and front steps, as well as a new request for the installation of a porch roof railing based on historic photographs. For the first request for the retroactive, the front porch railing installed between the stone columns is made of wood and painted in a light color. The handrail installed along the front steps is made of steel and painted black. Based on historic imagery, the railing between the stone columns does not appear to have been historically present on the front porch and is not required by Building and Neighborhood Services. The white wood porch railing is not appropriate. A handrail must be installed for the steps in accordance with building codes. However, a guardrail was installed for the front steps, which matches the guardrail installed for the recently approved ramp on the side. A guardrail is not required by building codes and is not appropriate. The design of the guardrail should be simplified to a minimal handrail with minimal vertical members and pulled back off the walkway to the minimum required distance from the bottom of the steps, so as not to overwhelm the historic building. For the second request, the proposal includes a request to install a porch roof railing with the intent of matching historic photographs of the detail present on the building. Staff recommends denial of the white wooden porch railing and steps based on the following guidelines to avoid installing porch railings on the porches where railings were not historically present unless required for safety or access reasons. And staff recommends approval of the step railing, a step hand railing and porch roof railing with conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Will you introduce yourself?
Yes, David Grothamel, Crouthhamel.
Okay.
It is our concern and our client's concern that we have some sort of safety guideline for any type of, disabled person with a, wheelchair or any type of, other devices as you're walking across there, not to fall between the arches. And that's why we went with the picture that they gave us for that railing system. And then when it comes to the steps, again, we have concerns about people being able to utilize that as they come up into the area. And it's their concern for safety purposes and insurance purposes to keep that as safe as possible. And it is through Williamson County that they have requested us to be here on their behalf for that.
Okay. Now, staff, this picture that's like a rendering, is that what we're calling the historic picture?
There are other historic aerial images and images of the building that feature the rail. This is the one that was submitted
Okay,
to drawing
okay.
based on historic
Just
images.
making sure we were, because that is dated 2002, which is fine. I thought that, I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I've seen like photos with some of these features. Okay, understood. All right, thank you very much. If you'll grab a seat. Let's see if there's any citizens here who want to comment on this one. Okay, I don't see anyone. Let's go to the commission for a motion then. I'd be glad to break this up in pieces if we need to as well, unless somebody wants to make a motion that aligns with the staff report precisely, then you can do that too. Pieces, okay. Let's do the balustrade on top of the roof. Any motion on that?
I'll move to approve with staff comments.
Okay, Mary,
Second.
Brian. Okay, any discussion on approving the front porch balustrade? Approve.
The discussion I would have is I spoke to the artist on this, who told me he took a photograph actually of the building and made the sketch from that photograph. So we know that that's what was there at the time in 2002.
Okay. Anything else on the balustrade? Go ahead. We have this open motion for the roof balustrade, so keep that thought. Anything else on the roof balustrade? Because we have a motion for approval on it.
Is it possible that we have that historical or photograph, which the artist be
I think
submitted as
it's-
part of the
I
package?
think it's right there.
Okay. Thank you.
I knew I had seen one.
Thank you.
Anything else, Kathy, on that? Any other discussion on the motion to approve the front porch balustrade with staff conditions? Okay, let's take a vote on it. All those in favor of approval of the front porch balustrade with staff conditions, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the ayes have that. Okay, let's go to the, let's have a motion for the rails between the arches, please. Not including the front step rails, just the rails between the arches.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to deny those
Okay.
as per staff's recommendation of avoid installing porch railing on porches where railings were not historically present.
Okay, Michael, thank you. Kathy. Okay, I have a motion to deny the rails between the arches per staff recommendation. Any discussion on that?
Yes, Emily, can you bring up the original photograph that shows that aerial image? Are you able to zoom in on the actual porch area? To the best of my recollection, what it had was like a rail that was almost like cast iron or some kind of a cast iron pipe that went between each of those. So it really wasn't a system of balustrades and baluster, but it was more just a handrail. And I think it was probably there because it was the Dan German Hospital. And then it became Greystone Nursing Home. And it could have been for, residents who needed to hang on to something because they were unstable. But I don't think originally the intent was to have railings in between those arches. I mean, obviously, Dr. Dan German, when they did this building and took this Victorian building and faced it and veneered it with all this stone, they were going for something away from Victorian.
Okay. Anything else? Any other thoughts?
Do we have the height of the porch or finish grade? It looks like it'd be less than 30 inches, so it's not going
I
to.
think codes, have you been there? Is it less than 30? Not sure.
Just based on those pictures, it doesn't look like a very high.
Yeah, it looks like it's 16, 20, something like that. Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor to deny the rails between the arches per staff recommendation. Let's take a vote on that. All those in favor of the motion for denial, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. That motion passes, which denies the rails between the arches. Okay, now let's take up this front rail at the steps. Front step rails. Will you remind me staff's recommendation on this, because it might help us with some wording?
We recommended approval with conditions that it would return to staff as a simple handrail.
Okay. And this is probably a question for Jared. Staff's recommending taking them as only as far past each end of the stairs as required. I think that's a foot both directions, including the top, which it doesn't make it to the top now.
That is correct. That's
Okay.
what I'd previously told Elizabeth, that the top doesn't look like it is correct, currently code compliant.
Okay. So it will extend a foot past the bottom nosing and a foot past the top nosing onto the landing is I think what you're saying, and it would just be a grab rail and minimal kind of verticals to hold that handrail up. Okay. So that's the recommendation of staff. So let's, if someone wants to give us a motion, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Anybody want to make a motion on that? It can be just to fall with, move for approval with staff conditions because they've already got it conditioned out.
I'll make that motion that it be approved with staff conditions.
Okay, Angela, Michael, thank you. All right, any other discussion on that?
And the foot past the ends, doesn't need to touch down either, it can be a loop or a curve, just to get that extra foot past the end of each step.
It does need to fully return, so if they stop it early, that handrail bar needs to return back to it.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, okay. Any other discussion? All right, let's all vote.
Well,
Did you have something, Mary?
It'll come back to staff.
That's right.
For review.
For final.
Okay.
Okay, we have motion for approval with staff conditions. All those in favor? Let me rephrase that. We have a motion for approval of the front step rail with staff conditions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. I think that covers everything. Did we get all three items? Okay. Thank you all very much. All right.
It
Item-
looks wonderful, Mr. Chair, the building.
Yes.
My kids ran up there on Friday night, or when was that? Saturday, Friday? We were walking downtown. All right, item number 6, consideration of mechanical equipment screening at 230 Franklin Road, Building 1 at the factory. Do we have someone here from the factory? Yes. Come on up. We're going to hear from Emily first. You're David.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Emily, if you'll go with our staff report, please.
Okay. So the property located at 230 Franklin Road is home to the factory at Franklin and is located within the Franklin Road Local Historic District and is also on the National Register of Historic Places. The proposal is to install screening with planting for the mechanical equipment on the roof of the building. And while the use of planters with foliage is not recommended per the guidelines, it may be appropriate to use a metal planter and a matte finish without plantings to screen the equipment, provided the planter is sufficient to fully screen the equipment. Staff recommends approval of the application with conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Click.
Hi, my name is David Click. I'm with Holiday Properties in the factory at Franklin. I don't have too much to add, other than I want to provide a little bit of clarification. I'd mentioned some structural limitations, and it's not necessarily structural capacity of the mechanical platform. In conducting a lot of the landlord shell work, we've reinforced that area. So the capacity of the platform itself does not seem to be an issue. It's really a matter of the structural requirements of the screen. It requires some lateral bracing from the framing that is likely to conflict with the equipment and some of the other items that are on that platform. So I just wanted to provide clarity to that. It's not a structural capacity of the building or the platform. It's extending the screen creates some issues. Also, I wanted to bring to light or bring to your attention the limited viewing area of this particular part of Building 1. And this is a photo here from the right-of-way. It's quite limited. We have the new screen already installed. We have a pretty mature magnolia that's in the area. So that gap there is just really over the ridge of your standing seam roof and the edge of the existing screen. So it's, in relation to the really expansive right-of-way frontage that the factory has along Franklin and Liberty. This is just a relatively small portion along Franklin Road. And that, I noted that area on the site plan as well. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. It's quite limited in relation to the overall expansiveness of this property.
Okay, thank you very much. If you'll grab a seat. Any citizens want to speak to this item? Okay, I see none. Let's go to the commission, please.
Mr. Chair, make a recommendation to approve with staff conditions.
Okay, Kathy? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Angela, thank you. Any discussion on this? Mary?
What I'm wondering is, why does it have to be built like a planter if you're saying to not put plants in it?
I think that
Is it?
the idea was to use the planter, but the planter,
I mean-
we've been reluctant to put plants on roofs of buildings.
Yes,
But
I
it's just,
agree.
if it has no plants in it, it just looks like a metal wall.
Could it
which
just
is-
be a metal wall?
That's the screen wall. He's saying they don't have the space to put the kickers in on the roof.
So you need it to be built like a planter?
Yeah, it's basically, it
Box.
will be planters just positioned along that exposed side,
Okay.
along the western side.
But they'll probably fill it with something so it's like, has weight and is ballasted and
Okay,
it just
that's
won't
fine.
move.
Yep.
So from our vantage point, I
I
think
was
it looks
just-
like a metal wall and it's
Yeah.
the same color as the rest of the
Yeah.
bronze metal.
I was just going to
Yeah.
say, if it suited them better, just for it to be three-sided.
Because I think you've got there's two sides here on the plan, and then there's this little 30-degree angle, and that's all installed. What we're talking about is these three little boxes here, which
Correct.
cover that gap.
Yeah.
Correct. And those lines, you see those horizontal lines, that's the standing seam roof there. So yeah, we're just looking to position those planters along that exposed area.
Okay.
And really, as was discussed, the intent is from the right-of-way and from the ground, it will appear as if it's just an extension of the existing metal screen.
Got it.
So there's something we have to cap them off so they don't hold water or.
They have drain holes, part of the fabrication, they come with the drain holes in them.
Okay.
And
My
then,
question-
and then as that drains, that goes to the TPO roof below, and that's been all part of the landlord scope, getting that proper building envelope secured.
Okay. Kathy, do you have something?
Yeah, my question would be mounting them to the roof as if you would the panel. Are they permanently mounted? Or are you just going to fill them to weight them? I don't think that's a good application.
Most of the planters that I have experience with, they have little mounting brackets, little angle brackets at the bottom that you can secure them to whatever they're sitting on. So yeah, that's the intent, that we would make sure that they are secure.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion for approval with staff conditions. Let's vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Click. Item number 7, consideration of modern features. Lift replacement at 218 3rd Avenue North. CJ Dixon is the applicant. Are you Miss Dixon? Come on up. Let's hear from staff first, and then we'll let you introduce yourself and tell us some more about your project. Elizabeth.
Thank
Go
you. The property located at 218 3rd Avenue North is located in the downtown Franklin National Register Historic District. This proposal includes a request for the replacement of an existing lift located off the left side of the front porch with a new lift. The new lift requires a full top glass enclosure and will have a total height of 86 inches. The existing lift location is screened from the front but is visible from side angles. The use of a lift is preferential to a more permanent structure, and the replacement of the existing lift in the same location is appropriate. Staff recommends approval of the replacement lift with conditions. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm CJ Dixon. This is my property and my business, and a very interesting configuration of a wheelchair lift. Unfortunately, this one that we originally had, the state no longer allows that kind of half wall, if you will. So the one that they will approve, basically, if you see, they call it the tower where the lift goes up, that's the height of the new lift that we're proposing. So there's really no height difference. But as you saw in the picture of the actual lift, it's the identical color. It just has a clear glass front and, yeah, pretty much the same height, and will continue to be shielded from the front of the property with the landscaping.
Okay. Thank you very much. If you'll have a seat for us. Any citizens want to comment on this one? Okay, I don't see anyone. Let's go to the commission, please.
I would move to approve with staff comments.
Okay, Angela.
Second.
Second from Bob. Thank you. Any discussion? Yeah, these kind of things are necessities.
Yeah.
They're, you know,
It's a
and
straightforward
considering this one's been
solution.
masked pretty well for years and years, and it's going back, I think she said it won't be any taller
Yeah.
than the one that's there, so.
Yeah.
It's like air conditioning units. We all like to have them, but we don't want to find somewhere to put them. Okay, any other comments? Okay, let's vote. Motion on the floor is for approval with staff conditions. Please, if all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, none opposed. Mr. Laster stepped out a moment, so we'll take note of that in the minutes. Okay. Thank you very much. Item number 8, consideration of demolition and new construction on a principal structure at 1309 Adams Street. Mr. McCreary, if you want to head up here, we'll hear from Elizabeth to get us started, please.
And I'll note that we had 2 public comments submitted that are now on the published agenda as well in support of the request. So, the property located at 1309 Adams Street is located in the Adams Street National Register Historic District, and the site features a circa 1900 1.5-story gabled L-frame residential building. The National Register lists the building as contributing to the district. The proposal includes a request for the demolition of the principal building and reconstruction of the building with alterations and an addition. The historic residential building guidelines and additions to historic residential building guidelines are applied to maintain the standard of the historic building during reconstruction. So for the request for demolition, the proposal includes a request for the demolition of the historic principal building on the property. A structural report by an engineer has been included for review. It details the building's condition and the need to replace 60 to 70% of structural elements. A separate report details cost estimates for the rehabilitation at $857,660 and new construction at $662,460. A report and plans for future action of the reconstruction of the building with modifications and an addition are included in the submittal for consideration of demolition. The guidelines provide that demolition can only be approved by the Historic Zoning Commission if it deems one of the 3 conditions to be met. The condition submitted for is if the structural instability or deterioration of a property is demonstrated through a report by a structural engineer or architect with demonstrated experience working with historic structures. Such a report must clearly detail the property's physical condition, reasons why rehabilitation is not feasible, and a cost estimate for rehabilitation versus demolition and construction of a comparable structure. In addition to this report, there should be a separate report that details future action on the site. The materials included within the application demonstrate a level of structural instability and deterioration of the building that necessitate action in order to make the building habitable. Based on the previous DRC discussions, with the scope of work entailed partial demolition with one wall left to preserve the building, the methodology would constitute demolition if one remaining wall were relocated or taken apart for necessary foundation work. The cost evaluation included for review demonstrates that new construction is more feasible. The proposed future action of the site has been detailed, and reconstruction of the existing historic building with alterations and an addition is proposed and supported. Based on the criteria for demolition, the request appears appropriate. For the new construction and the reconstruction of the historic building in addition to it, start with the historic building reconstruction. The building will be reconstructed in the same location and maintain the existing orientation. The proposed reconstruction would retain the historic form and massing of the original building with alterations to restore a historic front porch outlined on the historic Sanborn maps. A dormer-like element is proposed on the left elevation on the rear of the historic building form. The dormer is located just below the gable ridge and infills between the two gables. The dormer is proposed to be 30 inches from one side wall and has a slope of 2/12. The guidelines recommend the following for dormers: to size and locate dormers to fit with the historic architectural style and roof shape of the building. The dormer roof pitch should be at least 3/12 and no less than half the main roof pitch. While the dormer-like element is proposed in a location with more limited visibility, the element does not meet the guidelines for pitch and does not have a traditional location, creating a non-traditional dormer form that is not appropriate. For the addition to the historic residential building as reconstructed, a one-story addition to the reconstructed historic building form is proposed. The proposed placement and orientation of the addition to the historic building form is located to the rear of the building and is oriented to retain the patterns of development seen on the street. The form of the addition appears to be subordinate to the historic building in height and massing. Minor insets and roof breaks are proposed to differentiate the addition from the historic building form. However, on the right elevation, it does not utilize a break in the massing or roofing to differentiate the historic footprint from the new addition footprint. The proposed footprint of the addition is 1,335 square feet, and the historic building footprint reconstructed is 2,234 square feet. The proposed addition is 59.76% of the historic building footprint, where the guidelines recommend 50% of the historic building footprint. While this does exceed the recommended 50% size addition, the overall footprint of the building is approximately 9% of the lot coverage and is appropriate for new construction. The reconstruction of the building creates a highly unique situation with the proposed expansion of the reconstruction and application of the addition to historic residential guidelines. The proposed reconstruction of the building is supported and creates a unique application of the guidelines to ensure a high standard of construction is maintained for replication of the building. However, some minor elements of the reconstruction do not align with the guidelines. The proposed building meets the requirements for new construction except for a few elements such as the dormer element and new architectural details and ornamentation. However, because the historic residential building guidelines are applied to ensure a higher standard for reconstruction and addition, the size of the new construction that is being reviewed as an addition exceeds the recommended size for an addition to a historic building at 58% of the historic building footprint. Staff recommends approval of the demolition of the principal building with conditions, and staff recommends denial of the new construction based on the following guidelines. To preserve and maintain historic architectural details and ornamentation, new architectural features should not be added. Size and locate dormers to fit with the historic architectural style and roof shape of the building. The dormer roof pitch should be at least 3/12, and dormer sidewalls should be at least 30 inches from the exterior building walls. To design additions to be compatible with the historic building, yet clearly identifiable through the use of differentiating methods such as roof breaks, wall insets, wall offsets, material changes, and lower eave lines. A combination of these methods should be considered based on the specific context of the building and site. And to design the size of an addition to be subordinate to that of the historic building. The building footprint of an addition should not exceed 50% of the building footprint of the historic portions of the building. However, if the commission votes to approve the new reconstruction and addition, the following conditions are recommended. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McCreary? There's a lot there.
There's a lot, yeah.
We will. We will. Let's do, will you talk to the demolition first? And then we may take a motion on that, and then I'm going to have you back up. And then we may get staff to remind us of some things. There's just a lot. So if you want to talk to the demo first?
I mean, staff has recommended approval of the demolition. I really don't think I have anything additional to add at this time for that.
Okay. All right. You can stay right there, as long as you promise not to talk. All right. All right. Are there any citizens who want to speak to the demolition request specifically? Okay, I don't see anyone. So let's go to the commission for a motion on the demolition only, please.
Should we say that until after we discuss the new construction? Are we setting ourselves up to tear the building down before under construction?
I think one of the conditions of the demo is that you have to have a plan for what's next. Is that correct? But that doesn't mean that's in our motion, but we can put it in our motion for demolition. That whoever makes the motion could say, that you're, that the demolition cannot, it's approved but can't commence until you have an approved plan for the replacement.
That's true.
I mean, it could be part of the motion. And is that would be illegal? Okay. Okay. So, any motion that is on anybody's mind?
I would make a motion to approve the demolition upon the approval of the new construction. Contingent upon.
Contingent
approval.
on the
That the
approval of the
demolition
new
would not
building.
take place until there was approved new construction plan. And,
Okay.
yeah,
So we have Mary and Michael, approval of the demolition contingent on the approval of the new construction COA. Does that sound right? Okay.
that the demolition would not take place until
Right,
such
right.
construction was approved. I
Okay.
think that's.
Yeah, I think that's, okay. Any discussion on that motion?
The reason that I really don't take lightly demolition, but this house has sat empty for years. And I've just been going through the process of 264 Natchez Street, and this house is even worse than that. So at some point, when I'm so hopeful that our new preservation plan includes a demolition by neglect
Some language there.
language in it, but we don't have it right now, and it's been empty for longer than I can remember, so
Okay.
that's my reason.
Thank you. Mr. Laster?
Yeah, and demolition is last resort. I mean, extremely last resort. And the applicant has met all three of the criteria. So it's hard to not approve demolition when all three have been met.
Anyone else?
Agree.
Okay. All right, motion on the floor is for approval of demolition contingent on the approval of new construction COA. And the intent there is that it cannot be demoed until the new plans are approved. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay. Now, speak to us about your new plans.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate your time on this one. A couple things I wanted to hit were some of the staff comments regarding architectural features that have been added that may not be present on the existing building. And I think part of that has to do with comments that we had and discussions we've had back and forth to kind of take a very plain form that probably had more detailing and kind of bring it back so that it's more consistent with the style of the house and the character of that district, especially the style of those houses for Franklin. So we have this house, this kind of Queen Anne, post-Victorian kind of house is that style is very prevalent in Franklin, and so we did a lot of research and kind of walking around and looking at the other styles. This one appears to have a much more simple, like the bones of it are much more simple, kind of the detailing that is there lends it that it would have been a simpler house. Some of them have a lot more ornate detailing, scalloping in the kind of the gable end, things like that. So we tried to add ornamentation that would have been consistent with a very simple architectural style that this house would have had. So we've based most of this on, we have some existing corbels that are, or I guess they're rafter tails. We talked about taking those and replicating those and kind of adding that back and looking at how other houses have that. So that's kind of how we landed on this, the style and the kind of ornamentation for this house, trying to just balance that need for something that gives it visual interest with making it something that would not have been, we're not trying to make something completely different or something that it was not. So that's about the detailing. And still would like to go back to the dormer, that we feel that it is in a place of the house where visibility is minimal to the point where you would almost never see it, especially with the way it's oriented and the vegetation around it and kind of the speed of the street and things like that. So we again ask for approval of the dormer in its current form. And then final one about the inset for that. So if you look at this image, really there's a blank wall that is 46 feet and some change in both the old and the new. There is a roof plane change in the old one, but we did look at some of the surrounding homes in the neighborhood. And really, I think the next door house immediately to the left has a continuous wall that's around 50 feet. The neighbor immediately to the right has one that I think is 65 feet of a continuous wall. So with us asking for a 46-foot continuous wall without a roof plane change in this one, we feel that it is consistent with the neighborhood and the character of the house, and that we are still creating a wall inset where the old house kind of ended. You can kind of see in both of these plans, kind of looking straight down, where that door with the two windows, that is the same spot where that one wall ended and stepped back to that little three-windowed porch thing on the old house. So we have tried to maintain that kind of break between old and new. And then the size of the building is the last one, and as staff mentioned, it is a very large lot. It is a small home. Even with the size that we are proposing, it's only 9% lot coverage. There is precedent. The house next door to the left received, I think it was a 56% increase on theirs, and this house is smaller than that house that was proposed. So I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but we're asking for 59 and some change instead of 56.
Okay. Thank you very much. If you'll grab a seat. Anybody from the community want to comment on this particular reconstruction aspect of this project? Okay, I see none. All right, let's go to the commission for a motion on these reconstruction plans, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the addition and the reconstructed historic building, except without the proposed gable decoration or proposed dormer per staff comments and with conditions.
All right, give me a second here.
I would second that.
I got you here. Approval of the addition without the gable end decorations or dormer with staff conditions.
And staff comments, they commented on the gable decoration and the dormer.
Yes. Okay. Brian and Mary, thank you. All right, any other discussion on this? Did you want to comment on that first, Brian, since you made the motion?
Yeah, I do. First, it is a Victorian vernacular. It's a very common Victorian house of the late Victorian period. And there are some with this gable decoration. They're in the very front gable, but I don't see any that have this kind of craftsman look to it from that decoration. And we don't have precedent that it was here. So, since we're going back with something that's treating this as though it's a reconstructed historic structure and not a new house, that makes me a little resident, to go with something like that. The vent that's the part of the attic vent, I have seen them in that rectangular form, in Franklin on Victorian homes. Most common, they are round with some kind of decorative element, but I've seen that also here, so I think that's appropriate. The dormer just does not fit the traditional style of this house. If it were a new house, if we were treating this as new construction, and especially if it's on the back and more out of sight, maybe. But I think the way this is, the house would be better without it. So that's why that's in the motion.
Okay. And these gable details, I think the existing house has some like rafter tails out of the rake. You're talking about this kind of timbering
I am.
stuff out in
Yeah,
the gable.
not the
Okay.
rafter tails. They're
Okay.
very common.
Okay, understood. All right, anybody else?
Well,
Mary?
I would say I'm okay with going over, a little bit over the square footage because of the size of the lot. But I also feel like the side with the dormer does not conform with our guidelines. And in light of the fact that we're doing a demolition, we're going over the recommended addition size to put something that normally wouldn't be approved, I would not support. So those are my reasons.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have a question for
Holly?
you, Brian, actually. So the porch trim detail on the porch, are you asking for that to go away too, or just the gable detail?
Well, just the gable detail, but I do have questions on that spandrel. So I don't know if it's, the applicant can answer a question on the spandrel, but it's not traditional from the standpoint that you can see above it. Usually it's connected to the header of the porch and doesn't sit below it so much that you can see to the back wall of the house through the very top of the spandrel. So that would be my only question.
Okay. Mr. McCreary, do you have a thought on that?
I
I've
think we
seen-
would be fine if it goes up to the top rail of the porch. We were basing part of that on just the existing precedent of what was there, whether that was accurate or not. It was just something that was there before. So,
I assume that.
Yeah, most of them are connected to the porch rack. Actually, there's no top rail. The porch rack is the top rail, typically.
I assumed it had been added. It was contemporary.
Okay. Any other thoughts, anyone? All right, we have a motion for approval without the gable decorations or the dormer with staff conditions and comments. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. McCreary. I think this is our final item here. Item number 9, consideration of signage at 109 3rd Avenue North, New City Hall for City of Franklin. Emily has our staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, let me get to the specific page. Okay. So the property located at 109 3rd Avenue South is the location of the City of Franklin's new City Hall. The proposal includes the installation of a wall sign above the entrance to the below-grade parking on the rear of the building. The proposal meets the intent of the guidelines for wall signs for commercial and civic buildings, except for the height from grade, which is proposed to be a maximum of 12 feet, and the sign is proposed to be placed 13 feet 4 inches from grade. The sign is centered above the entrance to the parking area and similar in style to the signage that is seen on the 2nd Avenue and 4th Avenue parking garages. Since this is a city project, staff does not make a recommendation, but there are some potential conditions should the Historic Zoning Commission approve the proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I can tell there's no citizens left. It's just us, unless they're in the wings. All right, let's go to the commission for a motion, please. Okay.
Second.
Michael and Angela, thank you very much. Any discussion? I think the height thing, one, this is in the back of the building, and I get why we have that rule for like Main Street or something, but this is also a different scale building than a typical downtown building. So I don't have a concern with that.
Asking you a question as an architect, why would you need 12 feet?
Why would you need 12 feet? I don't know. It might just be a structural thing. It could be a clearance thing that they need 12 feet for deliveries or something. But it's not going to stay 12. Otherwise, wouldn't have as many. It'd just be a waste. But I don't know the answer to that. But it may be that they're just trying to align the window heads, which is an aesthetic thing. You see the windows on the side. But I can't speak to their design process there. But I think staff said this is in keeping with the same signs that are on all the other parking garages in town. So
I think the sign is great. I was just asking about that much height.
it looks tall. It looks like they align the headers. See all the headers of the windows?
Yeah, and I probably think that isn't necessary, but
It's probably not, but structurally speaking, it may have been a lot of weight to hold up. You have to think all the structural members are at the floor line, which is up above that blue. So, anyways, all right. Any other discussion? All that's presumptive. All right, let's take a vote for approval with staff conditions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, city. All right, other business. You already made the announcement for tomorrow night at 7. Hopefully everybody can be there. We're at the front end of the meeting and it's brief. So if you can be there. It's at Williamson County Admin Complex in like the hearing room that they have on the right side, the north wing there. You can kind of see there's a sign. If you pull into the old hospital, if you go on the right side, there's a sign and a side door. It's like a speakeasy of city meetings. It's really bizarre.
And we can send out a follow-up email in the morning, we will.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I would take a motion for adjournment if you're ready. Michael, thank you. A second?
Second.
Angela, thank you. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.